sorry, I actually don't know exactly how impeachment's coordinated. I would imagine that oversight would be involved to some extent. If there was a committee that was leading the effort, I would imagine it would be oversight.
Okay. Because I know that, AOC and Rep. Green's Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez and Congressman Green's resolution is not going to go anywhere. But I imagine, regarding the War Powers Act that Trump has allegedly violated over the past weekend with his bombings in Iran, but I imagine if the Democrats are successful in 2026, will there be another election for who is the ranking member, and if they prevail, the chairman, or is this sort of locked in for a number of years now?
Well, I'm not exactly sure because this election was triggered by Jerry Connolly stepping off the committee before he passed. So not kind of a normal cycle.
So he may just have the role pending his reelection.
Pardon?
He will just have the role pending his reelection in 2026.
I would expect so, yes. I would expect so. And speaking actually of Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, I wanted to also mention that, she is among the most probably well-known of the House Democrats, if not the most well-known House Democrat. And she challenged Jerry Connolly previously in the previous Congress for that role of ranking member of oversight and lost. So it's really, I think, just highlighting again the importance of this moment and of Garcia's election.
Well, and that race, I mean, you're talking about a generational divide, and I will count myself, I will show my bias here, that there's some folks that need to retire. And
don't look at me when you say that.
I'm not. There's people. Senator Feinstein should not be dying at her desk. Chuck Grassley is 99 years old. He should not be, in the Senate. No. And so, in that particular race, when we're saying, and then he wins, he prevails, and then unfortunately, I'm not happy about this, but unfortunately, he, it's just, yeah. So
I'm with you. I'm almost like of two minds because I also value and understand what experience and relationships and the know-how that you get by being on the Hill for so long can really help you be more effective. Yeah. So, but double-edged sword. I mean, I think it's kind of case by case, right?
It feels to me like the Republicans are emphasizing youth and no experience whatsoever. And the Democrats have been, like you said,
but sometimes does it give the illusion that they know what they're doing? I feel like I feel like Nancy Pelosi has demonstrated time and time again that she knew what she was doing.
Yes,
and she made stuff happen right down to the end. Last year with President Biden.
Right.
Chuck Schumer, I think he thinks he's great. Yeah. Is he actually though?
Jim, I wonder on the other side where you're seeing a lot of evidence of this.
Well, I feel like in the Supreme Court choices that have been made that they've emphasized much younger candidates, like Kavanaugh is one name that comes to mind, which Supreme Court used to be elderly or old folks that had been through the mill a million times. And now I feel like the Republicans are nominating much younger people for the Supreme Court. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know about Congress so much, but I do feel a little bit of a youth thing, and now I feel like we're getting some inkling of where there's an advantage there, and trying to find the middle ground, I suppose, is the...
Well, we will have to continue this debate in 2 weeks. Thank you, Christopher, for joining us here today. Always great to see you.
Thank you, likewise.
You can read all of Christopher's reporting at WashingtonBlade.com. We're including links in our show notes and on our website. Thank you, everyone, for listening today and or watching on YouTube. Up next on WCPT 820, Choose Views with Richard Chu on AM 950 Radio. It is the Matt McNeil Show. Stay tuned after that for Native Roots Radio. Connect with us on Blue Sky. We're at thegailyshow.org on Blue Sky for more progressive news and analysis. And until tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 in the morning, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning. The cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking. Now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
When facts matter, you turn to WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
A fair balance where the facts come out.
Real news, real talk.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei claimed victory over Israel today. It's his first public statement since a ceasefire was declared and the war between the two countries. He has not been seen in public since taking shelter in a secret location after the outbreak of the war, when Israel attacked Iranian nuclear facilities and targeted top military commanders and scientists. President Trump says U.S. and Iranian officials will talk next week, although Iran has not yet acknowledged the meeting. And AP's Karen Shamas reports on a European Union summit.
European Union leaders are meeting in Brussels to address key global and regional issues. On the agenda Thursday will be discussions on tougher sanctions on Russia, US trade tariffs, and the situation in the Middle East. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will join via video conference as the EU debates further sanctions and a Russian oil price cap. Defence and security dominate the agenda following a NATO summit, where leaders pledged increased defence spending. Internal divisions persist, however, including tensions over Israel's conduct in Gaza and climate policies. The summit's conclusions will set the agenda for the bloc for the next 4 months. I'm Karen Shamas.
Kroger plans to close around 60 grocery stores across the U.S. over the next 18 months to improve efficiency. It also said employees at impacted stores will be offered jobs at other locations. Officials in Myanmar's major cities destroyed about $300 million worth of confiscated illegal drugs. This came nearly a month after UN experts warned of unprecedented levels of methamphetamine production and trafficking from Southeast Asia's Golden Triangle region. The first astronauts in more than 40 years from India, Poland, and Hungary have arrived at the International Space Station. The crew of 4 will spend 2 weeks performing dozens of experiments. They launched yesterday from NASA's Kennedy Space Center, and the longest-serving man on Mississippi's death row was executed Wednesday. This is AP News. AP correspondent Ben Thomas reports the first meeting with the CDC's new vaccine panel alarmed pediatricians.
Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s new vaccine advisors held their first meeting, with Chairman Martin Kulldorff declaring,
"Vaccines are not all good or bad."
Saying we must keep up to date with the latest knowledge, he promised evidence-based recommendations. But Kulldorff alarmed pediatricians by announcing inquiries into some long-settled questions about children's shots, including setting up a working group to evaluate the cumulative effect of the childhood vaccine schedule. Also to be evaluated, shots that guard against hepatitis B and another that combines chickenpox protection with the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. Calling the process no longer credible, the American Academy of Pediatrics announced it will continue publishing its own childhood vaccine schedule. I'm Ben Thomas.
For more, visit us at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, we'll see a blend of clouds and sunshine. Do pick up a chance for some scattered showers and storms, mainly into the afternoon, on the muggy side with highs in the lower 90s. Then for tonight, chance for scattered showers and storms, a low of 73. More scattered showers and storms on Friday, a high of 86, and just a slight chance for a shower or thundershower Saturday, mid-80s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now it's 79.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good Thursday morning, progressives. The lights are on. The power's working. We're moving forward here. Welcome to the June 26, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Great to be with you this morning. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and iHeartRadio, of course. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Catch me on Substack. And most definitely, as always, guys, catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, whichever you choose to do. There you can get the featured versions of Choose Views, those short versions and the long versions, as I like to call it. And, of course, Joan Esposito, Live, Local, and Progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other wonderful shows that you want to plug into. And in doing that and making your way over to our Heartland Signal platform, digital platform, you have the ability to get great articles and great opinion pieces, like yesterday when we had Maggie O'Keefe on, who spoke about, and we talked to her about her piece on the Dobbs decision, which was phenomenal. So you got to check that out. But some of the other things that we have over at Heartland Signal on X are clips that are just, they put so much light on what's happening, as all of our clips do. But the ones on X are oftentimes ones that we've put together and made them accessible for you guys who don't spend a lot of time on social media. So we fully understand that importance. On today's show, we're going to be busy again. We're going to have a interview that I did with Mayor Dan O'Brien, who is the mayor of Culver City, California. He was part of the mayor's conference, and we had a chance to chat with him. Sarah Garza Resnick, who is the head of Personal PAC, will be with us. And then in the 7:30 hour, U.S. Representative Danny Davis will be here, will be on with us as well. So got a busy morning. Looking forward to bringing you guys all the best that we've got. But for now, check this out, progressives.
We had a diplomatic deal with Iran that was entered into in 2015 that was limiting their nuclear program peacefully, without having to bomb them, without having to kill civilians, without having to assassinate scientists. The United States, together with other nations, used the power of congressional sanctions, Congress did this well, to leverage an agreement whereby Iran agreed, and in the first sentence of the first paragraph of the first page of the agreement, Iran reaffirmed that it would, quote, never seek to purchase, acquire, or develop nuclear weapons. And in the body of that agreement, Iran agreed to a whole series of limitations upon nuclear research, nuclear activity, centrifuge construction, the percentage of enriched uranium it was allowed to have, and also Iran agreed to the most comprehensive inspection regime of any nation on the planet overseen by the International Atomic Energy Agency to ensure that they were meeting their requirements, that they would never seek to purchase, acquire, develop nuclear weapons, and that they would abide by the limits on centrifuges and the limits on enriched uranium and other activities. The agreement was working. Don't take it from Senator Kaine. The International Atomic Energy Association said the agreement was working. The allies and adversaries, Russia and China, were part of this deal, as were the UK and France and Germany. Those who worked on the deal said the agreement was working. It wasn't turning Iran from a bad actor to a good actor. It wasn't stopping all of Iran's bellicose behavior, but it was limiting the very nuclear program that is now trying to be bombed out of existence. We had an agreement that was working. President Trump became president in January of 2017, and he said, I don't like the agreement that President Obama did. I want to get out of it. President Trump's own cabinet, his Secretary of Defense, Jim Mattis, said, don't get out of this agreement. It's working. His Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, don't get out of this agreement. It's working. His National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster, a former general, don't get out of this agreement. It's working. For God's sake, we have used diplomacy just as we are supposed to, by preferring peace and diplomacy first, to deprive Iran of a path to a nuclear weapon. Shouldn't we prefer diplomacy rather than putting at risk the life of American troops, the 40,000 troops?
There you go. It was clear that it was working. I know I've a couple times this week referenced that great scene from Beverly Hills Cop. It was working. So here we are. It was working, and Netanyahu got his puppet to instigate something that didn't need to happen. And we're going to talk about this. I know there's people out there that are some on the left, Henry, that are saying, yeah, we did the right thing. And I got to tell you, somebody that I saw that came out, that this is why sometimes when I hear various people say, even some of those Republicans that, quote, came to their senses, like Adam Kinzinger, he was in support of this. But, how could you be in any event? There you go, guys. Just wanted to remind you that there are Democrats who are speaking up, who are grabbing the mic, and who are talking about this. We have another clip that we'll get to you after this first break from our representative here in Illinois, Brad Schneider. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, I just wanted you guys to know that our Democratic leaders are plugged in, and they're saying what they believe they have to say, and they're speaking the truth. None of what Senator Tim Kaine said was a lie or exaggerated. He was almost reading from, the text of parts of the agreement. Trump blew that agreement up in 2018, And we'll probably share this with you tomorrow. We've got other situations where we've had it broken down where not only is this Netanyahu's war or push to war, but when we go back to the invasion during Bush's term after we were attacked on 9/11, how much influence Netanyahu had on that drumbeat to war. So we may get that one to you today, but just wanted to bring that to you right out of the gate this morning. All right, Henry, let's bring him a couple of Choose Views news items this morning as we keep moving down the road on this June 26, 2025. It is crunch time. Yes, it is, for the U.S. economy, that is. The next 2 weeks will be crucial for the Trump administration, according to Bloomberg, and we all know this as it tries to pass this major tax and spending bill and manage the war, the kick-up that they started in with this bombing, and various trade deals and tariffs that are supposed to pause on July 9th. That's why these next 2 weeks are crunch time. It's a high-stakes to-do list, and it's going to mean a lot to American business and trading partners. All right. NATO nations reached apparently a defense deal. The annual gathering of NATO leaders in the Netherlands has yielded an agreement to increase military spending to 5% of each nation's gross domestic product. The group's declaration, which doesn't impose a time frame on the commitments, is viewed as a compromise that offers some leeway to members that say they can't afford the 5% pledge. Still, the agreement is one of the most decisive to emerge from the summit in years and is viewed as a significant show of solidarity among geopolitical leaders. Ford is moving to 4 days in the office. Ford has notified its white-collar workforce that most salaried employees will be required to come to the office 4 days a week beginning September 1st, according to Reuters. The goal is to help the car maker become a higher growth, higher margin, less cyclical, and more dynamic company. And there's at least one person that's died that we know of at this point from directly related to this brutal heat wave. A 55-year-old Missouri woman had gone days without water or air conditioning, according to police. Meanwhile, in the Southeast, the U.S. Department of Energy has declared a power emergency and increased usage has stressed power grids. New York's Central Park reached 99 degrees for the first time since 2012. And that's the hottest it's been, the hottest June 24th since 1888. This is the hottest June. And Philadelphia hit 100 degrees for the first time in over a decade. So, guys, be careful. This heat wave is moving, kind of passing its way through, but those that are still dealing with it, wherever you are in the country, be mindful of staying hydrated. Take appropriate breaks if you do work that's outside. If you're outside a lot, modify your work. Stay covered if you're going to be in direct sunlight. Find some shade and ways of cooling. And if you know someone that might be in a situation where their dwelling doesn't have good circulation, air conditioning, fans, check in on them. So just be mindful of that right now, guys. All right, we're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line, and we will be right back.
With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new Care Watch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The Care Watch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. The Care Watch is only only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. Call us to get your Care Watch right now.
800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. That's 800-741-5819.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
There are now reports of a leaked classified battle damage assessment from the Defense Intelligence Agency that disputes what the President and the Secretary of Defense have been telling us. The American people are left wondering, are the President and the Secretary telling the truth? So again, I ask you, Mr. Speaker, what are you and the President afraid of? What are you trying to hide? The 12-day war over the skies of Iran and Israel has certainly weakened Iran's program, but we don't know without a classified briefing if it has obliterated it, if it has defeated it. In fact, we don't know the full extent of the damage to the program. How much of the more than 600 kilograms of highly enriched uranium was Iran able to hide? How many centrifuges remain intact and operational? How easily can Iran replace the nuclear scientists eliminated by Israel? Was Fordo, as claimed, obliterated or slightly damaged and easily repaired? So again, Mr. Speaker,
the chair would remind you that it is improper for a member to attempt to involve the neutral presiding officer as part of the debate. Such conduct undermines this House, the goal of impartial, analytic consistency in presiding that is required of a member serving as chair.
Yeah. That was Representative Dan Muser from Pennsylvania trying to scold our Representative Brad Schneider for pointing out facts. See, that's the problem. We point out facts to the MAGA movement and the GOP, which are first cousins, and they suddenly get frustrated. You know, this is why we have to keep doing it. This is why we have to have our folks stepping to the mic like Senator Kaine did, and in this case, Representative Brad Schneider. We have to keep doing that. We have to keep encouraging them to do that. Because what happens is, what's interesting about how Muser sort of jumped in and tried to chastise Representative Schneider is that he didn't have any content that rebuffed it or refuted what was being said. He didn't have anything to counter those facts. He knew that it was right. He just wanted to try to go down the path of some procedural lane. But because what that's all about is trying to make this conversation go away. And also, a little bit about trying to pretend like they lean into decorum. How many times when the House of Representatives was led by Democrats did the Republicans show their rear end? So, Muser can go kick rocks about this whole thing around decorum. Representative Brad Schneider was bringing facts. They didn't like it, and so they wanted to shut him up by not getting him to tell a different truth, but just to say, hey, you can't do that because that's not what the rules are. Well, you all need to stop breaking the rules as well. And did anybody see this clip? And I don't know if it's happened more than once. So this is why I don't know if it's a brand new clip, recent event, or from the recent past of Representative Melanie Stansbury is speaking, and Marjorie Greene is just banging the gavel repeatedly. I didn't even want to play it because it's just so obnoxious and it's so loud, and all she's doing is like a toddler that's in their high chair and they want more Cheerios. She's just banging on it. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I truly do pray that we can support and uplift Sean Harris. We'll get him back on the show to win this race and get her out of Congress. I mean, I say this, I guess maybe aspirational. The Republicans have got, you would think, Henry, that the Republicans in the House would be embarrassed by her, but they're probably not. They like the fact that they've got their junkyard dog out there yelling and screaming and acting like a doggone fool. They probably like that. And many of them are probably laughing, going, yeah, we've got her on her leash out there, acting silly, yelling, pounding the gavel, and they're just going to let her keep doing it. She chairs a committee, so there's not a lot that they're going to be able to do unless Mike Weak in the Knees Johnson decides to step up, and that's not going to happen. But this whole thing around decorum that they tried to throw at Representative Brad Schneider, it's a bunch of malarkey. He was speaking the truth. They have a problem with it, and they wanted to make it something about procedure rather than the facts that he was bringing to them. Now, in both of these situations, guys, as I said at the beginning of the week, and we all know it because you guys are all smart progressives, a lot of this is distraction. I mean, when I say that, the bombing is a serious thing. There's nothing to be taken lightly at all about that. But at its core, it is a distraction from the economy. It is a distraction from tariffs. It's a distraction from the Epstein files. It's a distraction from this bill. It's a distraction from all of the progressive voices everywhere talking about Donald Trump and his inability to do well in running this country. It's about the distraction from his terrible birthday party parade. Because if he knew what he was doing back in 2018, he would have left it alone. The Iran deal. And maybe, and you're probably going to laugh, maybe try to improve it. But again, he's not a negotiator. He's a bully. He threatens. Good negotiators don't have to wield power in that way, loudly and right out in front. But bullies do because they have no substance to who they are. And that's showing itself. And it's showing itself the entire Republican Party. Not one of them gets a pass. Every now and again, Henry, they might say something that's, illustrative and makes us think, oh, yeah. But no, they have to have some consistency. And that's definitely not showing itself. But I just wanted to bring you guys those two clips because I think they really highlight and focus on the fact that the Republican Party does not have ideas, does not have good policy moves. They know that this big, ugly bill is hanging around their necks like an anchor, and that's how it should be. We want them to drown on it. We want them to go down drinking water in their lungs on it. I know that's graphic, and some might go, "Oh, Richard," but we want this to drag them down. They deserve this. They deserve this bill to fail because it's not a bill that's designed to help the majority of the American community. It's not. You can tap dance it all around it all you want to, but at the end of the day, this bill is designed to do one thing, and that's what each and every Democrat that's speaking about it has been saying, and that's to increase the largesse of uber wealthy millionaires, billionaires, big companies that just love getting these kinds of tax breaks and these kind of redirects. Talk about a transfer of wealth. I heard the Republicans whining about, taxing quote unquote the rich was a redistribution of wealth. Well, this is a redistribution of our nation's wealth. That's what's happening here, and a large amount of that wealth is built off of the fact that we've made it so easy for companies to prosper. We really have, and now they're going to have another. They're going to get another stake in the ground to further prosper without sharing that with the rest of the community. No, we're going to fight that every step of the way, and we should. You talk to somebody in your circle of friends and family, and they want to say how great the Republicans are doing. Ask them how much is this money that they're reshifting going in your pocket, and they'll stumble. They won't know how to answer that question. Well, it's how much of it's going to go in your pocket? How much of your tax is going to actually go down? How much will your actual cost of living be enhanced or improved? And they don't have an answer for it. They'll try to shapeshift and talk about, but they're taking care of the border. No, they're not. They're making it safer. Not when you bomb, another country. That's not making us safer. So just be prepared to come back at them with some good stuff. And you can find some good stuff and some clips where? HeartlandSignal.com, our digital platform. Make your way over there. Henry, should we grab this call before we go to this break? Let's take this quick call. We're going to go to break, and then we come back. We've got our interview with Culver City Mayor Dan O'Brien. Let's see who we got to say. Was this John? Hey, John.
Yes, good morning. How you guys doing?
Good. Got a little background noise. If you got your windows open, close them for me.
I'm driving right now. I'm
okay,
sorry.
There you go. No problem. What's going on, John? Good morning.
Good morning. First thing is we should get a report together for each district that we're running against Republicans. How many constituents are going to lose their health care and their SNAP programs and stuff like that? And how come we can say, hey, you Republicans are having a problem spending $45-50 million per parade and spending over $1 billion for your plane that we could be feeding our people, giving health care to our people.
Mm-hmm.
Have our representatives go out there and do that.
John, it's a brilliant idea, and it matches up with something I said. It's been saying over the past couple of weeks regarding the bill, regarding the parade, regarding the use of military in Los Angeles. So take those dollars and put them together. And I think we have $45 million for the parade and $134 million, according to what I read, for the military. Take those dollars and put them together and spread them out amongst the top 10, Republican cities in the country, if they are so doggone hell bent on this conversation around money. But to your point, go ahead. Sorry.
And how about the $1 billion that we're going to spend on the transforming that airplane that you got for free supposedly, but you whined and complained that you wanted it for free? How can you use that stuff against them and say, how about you said since day one you're going to end the war in Ukraine, the gas prices, the eggs, and keep on hammering them every day.
Yeah.
When you're out there on the campaign trail, say, hey, price of eggs are $5 instead of when they were $3, or gas was $3.25 now it's $4.50 or something like that. Use that against these clowns.
And John, to your point, I thought that he was going to dial the temperature down globally, and that's not happened. It's actually heated up and it's become more intense. Let me make a little suggestion to you of what I want. What I'm going to give you as a homework assignment, John. Make sure just pick 3-5 congressional leaders here in Illinois or anywhere, and what you just did by calling here and calling the show, just take some time when you can. I know you're a busy man, and call their offices and say, hey, listen, this is what you guys should be saying to the Republicans. This is what we want. We as voters want to hear you talking about when you go to a town hall or when you're out on the trail. I think when it comes from someone like you, John, a person that's out there, a regular, everyday, hardworking guy, it has so much more meaning. And I've got evidence to back that up, because every single person that I've had on the show in recent weeks has said the same thing. Call your leaders. So, John, that's your tiny homework assignment. Just pick 3 for next week that you're going to call. And if you have to leave a message, then do that. But that's what's going to continue to empower you, because I can hear in your voice how serious you are about what you just said.
Yes. And then one more thing before you let me go. Donald Trump is what he's running against. He lives in public housing, and he says he hates DEI. Well, he is one himself, a duly elected idiot.
Right on, John. Thank you for your call and contribution. Drive carefully today, and we'll talk soon.
You too. Have a great day.
You too, man. All right. Bye-bye. And, John, if you're still listening, don't forget your homework assignment. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. The number, of course, is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line, and we'll be right back.
WCPT 20th Anniversary Replay 2015.
Our happy ending this week is the number of callers, and I appreciate everybody calling in. Even the ones we politically disagree with. That's the great thing, is that we actually managed to have a conversation.
That guy said he listens all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. We can disagree as, gentlemanly. I think that's the essence. That's what we appreciate about this country, is we have a peaceful transfer of power that we take for granted every 4 years. We may not always like it. We may have an issue with the Supreme Court giving it away occasionally. But it's a big difference than people, that basically change governments through a coup and a hanging every 10 years. So count your blessings on one end. Yeah, we have a lot of wrangling.
It's kind of like why I watch The Bachelor sometimes, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh my God, this drives me crazy. I'm sure that's why that guy listens, you know?
Exactly, right.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, we'll see a blend of clouds and sunshine. Do pick up a chance for some scattered showers and storms, mainly into the afternoon, on the muggy side with highs in the lower 90s. Then for tonight, chance for scattered showers and storms, a low of 73. More scattered showers and storms on Friday, a high of 86, and just a slight chance for a shower or thundershower Saturday, mid-80s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 79.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Well, good morning, progressive listeners here on WCPT and Choose Views. Culver City, California is one of those midi cities in Los Angeles County that's neighboring and surrounded by Los Angeles. But it's one of those historical cities that has been the center for film and television production and the headquarters for places like Hughes Aircraft and so many other wonderful organizations and companies that America knows about. But they may not know about this new mayor, this mayor that is taking the city, the area by storm, and that would be none other than Mayor Dan O'Brien of the great city of Culver City, California. Mayor, welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Yeah, you were part of this wonderful conference of mayors that's taking place right now, and I know that we had a chance to speak with Mayor Booker from Maywood, Illinois, and Mayor Hart from Waterloo, Iowa, and now we're talking with you, another smaller community mayor that's making some great things happen and really exhibiting the local power of our mayors throughout the country. Tell us a little bit about your ascent and some of your previous experience in local politics in the Los Angeles area and how you are taking that and making it part of your successes now.
Sure. Well, Culver City is a city of around 40,000 people. We're about 5 square miles, and every inch of our border is surrounded by Los Angeles. And so we're very much impacted by everything that happens in LA. And my background, I've lived in Culver City for 25 years. You'll find that many of the residents in California and Los Angeles in particular aren't necessarily from that area. I was joking with some other fellow mayors and how we're not great sports fans in LA for the most part, at least for our teams, because so many people are from other places. They frequently are cheering for their home university or their home professional team when they come to town. But I feel like Culver City definitely has become my home. It's the place where I've lived the longest in my life, and you know, my firstborn was only 3 months old when we moved there, and I have 2 children, and they were raised in Culver City in our schools, and it was through our school community that I got really involved with our education foundation, and I created a nonprofit parks foundation, and then got involved as homelessness was becoming more and more of an issue in forming the city's first official homelessness committee. And, you know, after my kids graduated from high school, I found that I had a little bit more time in my life. As I discovered, you know, in California, many cities have rotational mayors, and it's supposed to be a mostly volunteer effort, but, you know, it's easily 30 hours a week of my life on top of my career.
Well, I got to tell you, you said something about parks a moment ago, and the reason I chuckled with you and you said you had more time is that you weren't spending your time having to walk down the hallway at the house and see, are they doing their homework? Did they clean up their room? You know, or did they try to sneak out the window? You know, your time suddenly changed to caring for another community, and that's that of of Culver City. And
Absolutely.
You talked about the parks program, and talk a little bit more about that. Chicago has great parks. It's one of the Cook County here in Illinois has great parks, but so does the Los Angeles region, and you specifically were talking about that focus in Culver City. Talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, what's great about Culver City is we've got a lot of neighborhoods that are named after the parks that they surround. So I live near Veterans Park. We've got Lindbergh Park, Carlson Park, Sunkist Park, Fox Hills Park. So these are all named, the neighborhoods are named for the parks. And they're community parks. Sometimes they're just passive pieces of grass where people can, let their kids run around and, roll out a picnic blanket and relax. And sometimes they're very active recreational parks with, ball fields and basketball courts and tennis courts. And, I saw, this was around 2005, I believe, my local park was having issues both with the maintenance level of the playground that was there, and my kids were playground age, and we were having also issues with homelessness in our park, and to the point where children, parents weren't feeling safe having their children play there. So it kind of created a perfect environment for activism, and I looked for ways to fundraise to improve our local playground, and as well, understand and try to solve the homelessness problem in our park. And it's amazing relative to the issues we are faced with today with homelessness. Back then, it was nothing. And I feel really grateful to have had the experience in working with our local agencies at that time and better understanding, and honestly becoming more empathetic to the plight of people who are unhoused at that time. I was much more concerned about myself and my children's safety. And through my work with the homelessness committee at that time, I, became more understanding and empathetic to, the reasons why people fall into homelessness.
Yeah, it's I had a situation a few years ago where I became even further sensitive and understanding how people can so quickly become addicted to certain medications, prescribed ones at that, and just became even more eyes wide open and listening to people's concern there, how quickly those tables can turn. So, kudos to you in that space. The Feed Culver initiative has been one that, you guys have really kind of push forward on, and I know that was a lot of what came out of COVID. But how is that going? How are some of those types of programs going?
Wow, you've done your homework.
I try.
So, Feed Culver, I think, is a national success story. This was before I was on city council, but I was known as a community leader, and our mayor at the time reached out to me and said that, we need to do something. And it wasn't just to help the food insecure. And at that stage, I don't know if we were really, if the unhoused population was on our radar as recipients of our program, but it was just helping people who, were struggling in a broader sense. And we were looking for a way to help save our restaurant community because their doors were closed. This was early in COVID, and, the outdoor dining concept wasn't yet conceived. And when we jumped all over that, we killed it, absolutely killed it with that in our city. But, so what we did is we quickly ramped up with our Chamber of Commerce and our local business partners to, seek contributions to help fund a food purchase program from our local restaurants. So we actually paid maybe not normal retail prices for food, but we were, enough for them to keep their doors open. Mm-hmm. And then we would in turn bring these hot restaurant prepared meals. This isn't McDonald's. These are our sit down white tablecloth restaurants. We would bring those to an already established system called Grace Diner from a local church, where they would provide white tablecloth dinner every Monday night. We turned it to Monday through Friday 3 times a day. We served over 200 meals per, delivery session. We couldn't have them sit down anymore. There was, all the COVID precautions we were doing. So we just hand delivered already, warm, prepared meals. The numbers are, I don't even know what they are. It's in the hundreds of thousands of meals that we've served, and it's still ongoing today. They do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday now, but provide enough food and personal care items for our residents who are food insecure to get them through the week.
It's a phenomenal program, and the reason that I wanted to have you talk about it is it saved lives. It saved some businesses. And,
absolutely.
And because of that, it circles back to something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's what local folk do. We're here in Chicago, based in Chicago as a radio station and as a show, but I understand the importance of what a local community of 40,000, slightly over 40,000 population community of Culver City can do that impacts that community, but changes the region. Because you're surrounded by LA, but those connective tissues from your community to the next, and Ladera Heights. I happen to know the area because Southern California is near and dear to my heart. I went to college there, and anything that happens in Southern California to me is personal. So kudos to you and the work that you have done, not just as mayor, but as your time with city council and the work that you've done over the years. And I just like to highlight so much of what local folks are doing to make a difference, because then that becomes a domino effect for the region, for the state, and frankly for the country. And so that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about, or have you talk about Feed Culver. Mayor O'Brien, the national issues, there's a handful that are impacting all of us in every part of the country at the same moment. And the biggest one is obviously the elephant in the room, and that unfortunately is immigration. And I know that from a percentage standpoint, your racial breakdown or ethnicity in Culver City is reasonably diverse. But what have been some of the things that you've just had to hold on tight and be there for the people of your community in this crazy time?
Well, we are, yes, a sanctuary city, and we hold by that. It's also a state law. So every city in California is, if they're obeying the law, they are not cooperating with ICE. And the way we're things that I can't talk about that happen behind the scenes, where folks who are undocumented and may have gotten a traffic violation, and they're afraid that we're going to turn them in. That's not happening. We have a very progressive community. The social media network, the faith-based organizations in the community are definitely supporting and providing information to give as many tools as possible to those who are undocumented and who are afraid. I believe it was last week, one of our car washers was victimized by ICE, and they came in and indiscriminately grabbed 2 of the employees there, and I understand 1 customer. And I met with the families of these men. At that time, they didn't know where they were. These were fathers, non-criminal. They're here. If you consider someone undocumented a criminal, I guess that they are in that sense. But I do not consider that. Our immigration policies and bureaucratic quagmire to become a documented legal citizen is it forces people to be in violation.
It's too damn
so these are people they're providing for their families. They have between the 2 men who were detained, they have 3 children, and one of them is a college graduate, and 2 of them are honor students going to college, to be college bound. they're employed, they're contributing, they're doing nothing wrong. And, and if we're all honest about this, if we were to round up every undocumented immigrant in Culver City and send them to their home countries, our economy would shut down.
Yep. It would.
Food prices, all of it,
in a blink of an eye. And it's too doggone complicated. I mean, not to get too far in the weeds on that, because I know that's another conversation that you and I'll have when we have you back on again, because we're going to do that. I put that out there already to you, Mayor O'Brien. But, I applaud you for having the courage to say those kinds of words, because a lot of people won't do that. But I know that given where you are geographically and where you are mindset wise, that's what has to be said, and that's what we have to do, or what we shouldn't do, which is to be so heavy handed with how we're navigating the space. It is, once again, that local power, and I don't mean that in a negative way, that you have to be able to bring people to the table and get some things done. And that's something that you should be applauded for. Let me ask you a little bit more about, the conference and some of the things that have come out of that, and what you might be able to take back and be able to maybe not so much implement, but at least say, okay, let's have this on our whiteboard of things that we want to be thinking about. Have there been a few other items that you've been able to gather and gain from other mayors?
Yeah, I attended a session yesterday on small businesses, and how to help them, because they are the backbone of every community. Employees, business generation, recycled money within a community, and where we're surrounded by LA. And I'm doing, if you want to talk about the Olympics, I'm happy to as well. But we have customers who are from all of Los Angeles and the world. So I learned about some good tools to help, workforce development, to help support our small businesses, because especially when we're talking progressive policies, which we're all in favor of, environmental issues, living wage, and a whole litany of items. All of those things that we're all in favor of are also challenges to small businesses, because all these things are costs for them, or added hurdles for them to succeed. So how do we stay on a progressive path while at the same time not undermining our business community? And that's a real struggle. It's very real. Some of it is in communication, and I think some of it also is enacting policies incrementally and not all at once. I think I think it was MLK that said it's very convenient for a white man to say to a black man in time, and we don't want to have people wait for equality. But if we bury our business community in red tape and costs, then they're going to fail.
Yeah.
So it's how do we do that incrementally, so that we are progressing, but we're not undermining our ability to, our tax base is what runs cities. Yep. And so we need our businesses to thrive.
And as small businesses continue to have that support from local mayors, the more that's going to continue to happen. We probably don't have the time to talk about the Olympics today. We'll have you back on and talk about that again. I'm really excited about it. I was able to attend the Olympics in 1984 as a result of I was graduating from college, and my cousin was doing his fellowship at UCLA. And one thing led to the next. The next thing you know, I'm sitting in the Coliseum and blown away by being able to be a part of that. So it's going to be a great event for the city, for the country, for that matter. You have been a great guest to have on this show, and I learned that your folks particularly your pops was kind of a Midwesterner before making it out to Southern California. So you've got some indirect Chicago roots in that lineage.
Yeah. My dad was raised in Hebron, Illinois.
Yep.
I was raised in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So I definitely have a small town background. And, it gives me, I think, a well-rounded perspective on things, living in an urban setting. I went to USC. That's what brought me to Los Angeles. So it's good to, I think varied experiences in your life open you up to more empathetic viewpoints. And that's the way I try to be.
Well, you've been successful at that, Mayor O'Brien, and I'm honored to have had you with us on the show this morning. How can folks find you? I don't care if they're in Pittsburgh, they're in, Portland, or if they're, right around the corner from you. How can folks find you? I'm a really big advocate of making sure that we are all connected and that people can reach out to those who are great leaders like yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my email address is dan.o'brien@culvercity.org. And if you want to, probably on social, I'm not a ex-Twitter guy, but I am on Instagram, so you can message me there at Dan O'Brien for Culver City with the number 4.
Got it. And also check you out on LinkedIn. I think you're over there as well. If I
yeah, absolutely. So I'm a TV and film editor. That's my career.
Absolutely.
Works out being in LA for that, but our industry is reeling right now, and I'm trying to figure that out as well.
Yeah, I've read some various reports in that space. So, Mayor O'Brien, thanks for being with us this morning. We really appreciate you taking the time. I'm looking forward to having you on the show again, talk about some more local issues and things that you were doing to do the great leadership that's required there in Culver City. And we appreciate you for that.
You got it. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Yes, one of our other great mayors of smaller communities, but communities that have had such an incredible amount of impact. We talked with Mayor from Waterloo. We talked to the mayor from Maywood last week, and we had a chance to talk with Mayor O'Brien from Culver City. And one of the things that he's really done, I believe, in my research on him, is he's maximized all of the tools that they have in that small community, relatively speaking, and done the best that he can to make sure that the people there are benefiting from it. And we talked about Feed Culver City. That was a program that they put together during COVID that was a game changer. It saved, like I said, it saved not only lives of individuals, but it saved some businesses. And this is what our local, why I highlight so oftentimes staying involved, getting involved, and staying involved in local activities and local getting involved with local politicians and local service groups. At this time when so many of us are just, on the tipping point, or on the edge might be a better way of putting it, finding something to do that's local can help you come out of your silo, can help you feel more empowered. And that's why I'll admittedly say this. I preach about that certainly every week, if not every day, of staying engaged, staying active. And I don't care if you're 75 or if you're 25. It's important to do that because it's not just for what it does for the community around you, but it's also what it does for you individually. And I think that the more you do that and you kind of stack the dominoes of success, the better you are going to be at navigating through the craziness that we're all dealing with right now. Before we take a quick break, we'll tell you about what's happening today on Live, Local, and Progressive. Joan Esposito will be talking to, let me put the glasses on, Henry William Campbell, host of Here's How, Ireland's political, social, and current affairs podcast. That'll be great to listen to. Marge Halperin, Democratic analyst and political commentator on the Mincing Rascals podcast. Heartland Signals, Rich Eberwine with 3 stories you may have missed from our digital newsroom, Live, Local, and Progressive. That is Joan Esposito, weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years. And then tonight on Driving It Home, comedians Dwayne Kennedy and Adam Burke will be in for Patty Vasquez. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. Central here on WCPT AM 820, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And guess what? Since tomorrow's Friday, we might be having a guest that will be calling in and chatting with us, who's one of the co-hosts of True Blue Politics podcast. None other than Karen Byrne will be with us tomorrow to chop it up. And then the brand ambassador and social media chief at the DuSable Black History Museum, none other than Sherman Dilla Thomas. I'm looking forward to chatting with him again. And author of A True Story of the Catholic Priest, Why I Got In, Why I Got Out, and What I Learned Through It All. And that's Charles Shute will be with us tomorrow. So we got a busy day, and looking forward to chatting with our guests on tomorrow's show. And then this weekend, as you guys may know, there's the Pride Parade. And WCPT will be a participant in that. So listen to WCPT's exclusive live broadcast of the Chicago Pride Parade, sponsored by Credo Mobile, this Sunday, June 29th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Time. There you go, guys. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will be talking with our guest, Sarah Garza-Resnick, who is one of the leaders in the conversation around advocacy for reproductive rights, and also one of those other great folks out there standing for justice through her organization, Personal PAC. We'll be right back.
Celebrate the culmination of Pride Month in Chicago by attending the Chicago Pride Parade, a celebration of love and unity on Sunday, June 29th. This year's theme, United in Pride, highlights the power of coming together, embracing our diversity, and championing love and equality as one united force. Together, we are unstoppable. You can watch anywhere along the route, from Broadway and Grace to Diversey and Sheridan. For more information, visit pridechicago.org and make sure to keep your eyes out for the WCPT float. If you can't attend the parade in person, you can listen live as Scott Duff and Ellen Miller describe all the excitement on WCPT 820 on Sunday, June 29th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The WCPT live parade broadcast is sponsored by the Center in Halstead and by Credo Mobile, a progressive phone company that is better for all people and the planet. Visit credomobile.com. WCPT 820, your Pride station in Chicago.
Imagine having all the money you need for retirement, all the income, every month, guaranteed. That's Secure Future Investor. Secure Future utilizes an indexed annuity tied to growth in the U.S. stock market, but without any risk of loss ever. That's right. No matter what happens in the market, your investment can never decline. Down years, you're insured against any losses. Boom years, your retirement account grows exponentially to increase your worth. Whether the market is up or down, Secure Future Investor can set you up with guaranteed money for life income. It's the difference between thinking you have enough money to retire and knowing you're getting that retirement check every single month for the rest of your life, no matter how long you live. Over 40 years old? Call now. 888-509-2228. 888-509-2228. Sponsored by GP Agency, Inc., Raleigh, North Carolina. Licensed in all states. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial professional before making an investment decision.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, Amazon, or NewNordicUSA.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Iran's Supreme Leader made his first public statement since a ceasefire was declared in the Israel-Iran war. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei warned against any further U.S. attacks. He spoke in a video broadcast on Iranian state television. He told viewers the U.S. had only intervened in the war because it felt that if it did not intervene, the Zionist regime would be utterly destroyed. AP correspondent John Gambrell reports on some of the challenges faced by Iran's theocratic government.
Now at home, the challenge really is the economy. There's mass unemployment. The country's real currency has fallen drastically in recent years. And as people return to work, they're going to start facing the same challenges they did before the war started, which includes power cuts. They're affecting businesses there, stopping bakeries, and really disrupting life.
Vietnam has lifted the death penalty for 8 crimes. The legal reforms may spare the life of a real estate tycoon imprisoned in the country's largest financial fraud case. And AP correspondent Ben Thomas reports the CDC's new vaccine panel's first meeting alarmed pediatricians.
Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s new vaccine advisors held their first meeting, with Chairman Martin Kulldorff declaring,
"Vaccines are not all good or bad.
Saying we must keep up to date with the latest knowledge, he promised evidence-based recommendations, but Culver alarmed pediatricians by announcing inquiries into some long-settled questions about children's shots, including setting up a working group to evaluate the cumulative effect of the childhood vaccine schedule. Also to be evaluated, shots that guard against hepatitis B and another that combines chickenpox protection with the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. Calling the process no longer credible, the American Academy of Pediatrics announced it will continue publishing its own childhood vaccine schedule. I'm Ben Thomas.
This is AP News. Lisa Dwyer reports on the latest ruling on the shutting down of Job Corps.
A federal judge has granted a preliminary injunction to stop the U.S. Department of Labor from shutting down a program for low-income youth called Job Corps, at least until a lawsuit against the move is resolved. Job Corps aims to help teenagers and young adults who struggle to finish traditional high school and to find jobs. The program provides tuition-free housing at residential centers, training, meals, and health care. The judge wrote that once Congress has passed legislation stating that a program like Job Corps must exist and sets aside funding for that program, that the Department of Labor is not free to do as it pleases. The lawsuit, brought by the National Job Corps Association, is supported by the attorneys general of 20 states. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Visit us at apnews.com for more news. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, we'll see a blend of clouds and sunshine. Do pick up a chance for some scattered showers and storms, mainly into the afternoon, on the muggy side with highs in the lower 90s. Then for tonight, chance for scattered showers and storms, a low of 73. More scattered showers and storms on Friday, a high of 86, and just a slight chance for a shower or thundershower Saturday, mid-80s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 79.
Explore the connection between type 2 diabetes and chronic kidney disease, how patients can improve outcomes, and how research is shaping tomorrow's treatments. Join Drs. Manish Jain and Khalil Saeed for a free Lunch and Learn hosted by Flourish Research, MedEvidence, and Weiss Memorial Hospital. This free event takes place Wednesday, July 2nd at Weiss Memorial Hospital, 4646 North Marine Drive in Chicago. Lunch will be provided, but space is limited. RSVP today at 773-275-3500, extension 113.
Chicago's progressive talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Hey, progressives. Welcome back to Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is our Credo mobile phone and text line. You can check us out. Obviously, at all of our sites. Go to the Heartland Signal on X, TikTok, Instagram, Threads at Heartland Signal. That's one word. Be sure to check out the heartlandsignal.com for daily digital updates. And we keep you posted on what's happening. And you get a chance to go back and check out a show that we had in case you missed one of our guests. And speaking of guests, this morning we have with us the CEO of Personal Pack, which I am so excited to talk with and to talk about the organization. And that would be Sarah Garza-Resnick. Good morning, Sarah, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, Richard. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Man, you're just killing it these days. You guys have been super busy. And in the conversation about standing for justice and making sure that we are leaning into the advocacy that's needed with reproductive rights. You have really been sort of carrying that torch for a while, and just really happy to have you with us this morning. Sarah, take a moment, just kind of introduce yourself to our audience, a little bit about you, a little about your background, and of course, your work as CEO with Personal Pack.
Yeah, well, so what can I say? I'm a lifelong Chicagoan. I traveled the world, went to school. I've always been a warrior for justice, working on political campaigns. I was a Cook County public defender. I worked in the county running big offices like the Cook County clerk and the Cook County assessor's office. And when we saw the writing on the wall with Donald Trump's handpicked Supreme Court justices, I'm myself a person that's had an abortion. There really, to me, is no more greater fundamental right than the control and freedom to do with your body as you choose. And Personal PAC had a longtime CEO before me, and he was retiring. He's on your radio network a lot. And I said, that's the perfect integration of all my skills. And I decided to apply for the job. Lo and behold, it was before the Supreme Court ended the federal right to abortion in the Dobbs decision. And there's no greater honor in this moment than to be one of the leaders of the resistance and to also be creating a vision for what reproductive freedom and abortion rights and equitable access could really look like.
Well, we've been fortunate this week. We've intentionally leaned in to talking about Dobbs. We've had folks on from different organizations, and we appreciate you being a part of that conversation. One of the things that I wanted to ask, not so much ask you, but just comment on, you wrote this really wonderful opinion piece in the earlier this year about Illinoisans must stay vigilant on abortion rights and access with this new Donald Trump administration. And if you could, talk a little bit about that article, talk a little bit about what your thoughts were and what was the driving force behind you putting that opinion piece together.
Yeah, I think that a lot of Illinoisans look around and they're so grateful to have our leaders like our Governor J.B. Pritzker and Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton and our amazing legislative leaders. And so they think maybe we're safe. And I understand that instinct. We want to be safe right now. It's scary, and there's so much going on. And I just wanted to lift up to everybody is that while we have worked so hard to protect abortion in Illinois, we're not safe from federal attacks. And what Personal PAC does, what we have done so well for 36 years, is that we elevate this issue every single election cycle, from library board trustees to school board races to governor. We are there to remind the voters of Illinois who will have their back. And the special sauce of us is then we hold them accountable if they don't. We don't give people passes. So, I wrote that piece because I wanted people to say, because I kept hearing, but we're fine in Illinois. JB's our governor. I thank God every day for J.B. Pritzker, but he cannot, by himself, stop Donald Trump from impacting our health care rights, right? He's going to try. They do such a good job. So a couple ways, just for your listeners to know, that despite our great elected officials and despite our wonderful laws, protective laws, and despite the fact that Illinois trusts women, the federal government can still impact our rights. Mm-hmm. So Title 10 is a good example. Title 10 is a program created by Republican Richard Nixon in 1970 to make sure that everyone has access to preventative reproductive health care, like birth control. Right now, in the big, bad, ugly bill that's being negotiated in the Senate, they're trying to limit that, right? We don't know exactly how the machinations are going to work, but this is access to birth control for people who can't afford it otherwise, really basic. They could weaponize Medicaid. We see this happening in the big, bad, ugly bill. They're trying to impact clinics, if the majority of their work is abortion work, from receiving Medicaid, which is discriminatory towards people who rely on Medicaid every single day for health care. And those are low-income people. The DOJ, without a single act of Congress, or anything that Donald Trump could do, could just start enforcing what is called the Comstock Act, which is a zombie law, which means it hasn't been used in decades, from 1873, that bans the mailing of lewd items, including contraception, abortion, pornography, anything that is deemed to be lewd. Project 2025 talks about reviving this law and starting to use it. And it's really important that your listeners know that medical equipment that's used in normal gynecological care, like speculums or supplies used in childbirth, are included in this.
Yep.
And then the kicker is our RFK Jr. has told the FDA to reevaluate the safety of mifepristone. Mifepristone is one of the medications used in abortion medication, and it is used in 2/3 of abortions in this country. It has been, and they're trying to use junk science. The FDA is to look into mifepristone. There is a conservative think tank, which was one of the leaders of Project 2025. It's called the Ethics and Public Policy Center. And their report that is questioning the efficacy of mifepristone was neither peer-reviewed nor published in a medical journal. And yet they're trying to use it to take away our rights.
Yeah, it's for those of us who couldn't write it down fast enough. The simple way to get with what Sarah's talking about is to make sure you reach out to her at Personal Pack, and stay. What was going through my mind, Sarah, and please understand this as best you can. I just put my pen down and I listened, because what you talked about I know of, but it was a reminder to me to remind folks to stay engaged, because you started off your points about we in Illinois believe that we're safe, and we are, but not if we stand alone, not if we don't stay behind our elected officials who have things, who do understand the importance of this and the seriousness of this issue. This is just one of many. But to stay engaged, stay plugged in, stay connected to someone, reach out to local groups like Personal Pack, make sure you're staying connected to your elected officials and keep pushing them on a state level as well as on a federal level. And that's kind of the underbelly of what you're talking about. Don't get unplugged, folks. We just, unfortunately right now, you're probably at a point in your life chronologically that you were hoping that you could take a breath. But unfortunately, we can't really right now, because we've got this Yahoo in the White House and his highly incompetent administration weighing heavy on every single issue that impacts all of us straight out of the Project 2025, mission statement. So stay engaged, people. That's one of the things that Sarah didn't say, but she's indirectly saying, don't sleep on this. Don't think that just because we've been blessed to have great elected officials in Illinois that we can fall asleep on this. Is that a fair statement?
It's totally fair, and people turn to us. So for your listeners, if you live in Illinois, every single election cycle, from municipal elections to statewide elections to primaries, every election cycle for state elected officials, we send out questionnaires to everybody. We track everybody down. We interview everybody extensively. We vet people, and then we give endorsements. So people should go to our website for every single election and say, these people are going to have my back. And trust me, if they don't, and if they waffle, we will hold them accountable. And we're bipartisan. At one point in the 90s, there were 14 General Assembly members that were Republicans that we endorsed. And to get our endorsement, you have to believe in no government interference. At no point does the government know more about my body than myself and my doctor. And it is so important, and we do the homework for you. We make it easy for you.
Well, and that's I'm known for giving homework assignments to listeners and callers on certain things that if they have a question about something or if they have a suggestion, I oftentimes will say, you do the homework, you go out there, you make the calls, because I want you to be engaged in the process. I don't want you sitting on the sidelines and thinking that somebody else is going to do it. And one of the powers that we have right now, Sarah, and I'm sure you've got your thoughts about this, is, Governor Pritzker was one of the first leaders in the country after the election that stepped up and said, to Donald Trump specifically and the administration, if you got to come through me if you're coming from my people. Well, listen, y'all, we can't leave Governor Pritzker, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, or any of our elected officials across the board, or any of our leaders like Sarah, be out there on their own fighting this battle without the support that they need to continue to fight. I had the opportunity and the privilege to have Representative Nikki Buzinski on a few weeks ago, and I said, listen, just go for it. We got your back. We don't want you to have to turn around and wonder if we've got you. We've got you. And I think that's something that's the empowering part of folks staying engaged, is that it gives the leader, the Sarahs of the world, the JBs of the world, a sense of certainty to know that we're out here fighting as hard as you are, and that you keep pushing the envelope and know that we've got your back. So that's why I'm just a big believer in folks staying engaged.
Yeah, thank you so much, Richard. It's so important. We live in a democracy, right? And that requires a give and take from leaders and the people. What I love about what I do every day is I don't come up with the ideas by myself. I have my ear to the ground. I have deep relationships with the abortion providers, with the doctors and hospitals, with the Chicago Abortion Fund, and we together do this. And if you don't mind, I could just read a quote. There's a great think tank called the Guttmacher Institute, and they publish all of the reporting about reproductive health and abortion in this country. And this is what they said about Illinois in their latest report. In Illinois, the state government, abortion providers, and advocates have helped build a robust infrastructure to expand and connect traveling patients with funding and navigational support. Obtaining abortion care out of state is often only possible because of the intensive efforts of providers, abortion funds, practical support organizations, and the patients themselves. We built this house.
That's right.
It is not by accident that we are who we are in this public health care crisis. And so your listeners should know it is not brilliant, it is not a lot of people doing this. It is a very few number of people that 36 years ago said, we are going to build this house. And in fact, we have. And it can be replicated in other states. It can be replicated on other issues. It is the perfect example of people power.
And that's one of the things that this administration is also trying to do. They were subtle at it for a while, but now they've just been pretty obvious in terms of trying to tear us apart and keep us separate, working in our own silos, feeling sad, feeling like, that there's nothing that we can do to affect this. When in fact, 13.1 million people weekend before last said, no, there is something that we can do, and we do have something to say on a multitude of issues. And obviously the bill was a big part of this, the push for the folks that were out and protesting and that were out at the various rallies. But you're right. We we are a family that gets to fight this fight. And if we choose to fight it the right way and continue to fight it, then I believe we will win. I want to point out something real quickly. You were talking about, we have so many great Illinoisans who are doing work in terms of the elected officials. But one of the reasons that people have got to pay attention to what those who are fighting against us are saying is just on this conversation around mifepristone. U.S. Representative Mary Miller, right here in Illinois, you may have seen this or heard this, but she's saying things like this. And this is why we have to pay attention, you guys. She's basically saying that the nation's water supply is, quote, being severely contaminated by chemical abortion drugs like mifepristone. Now, there's no evidence of that to the FDA or any of the other agencies that monitor, whether it be the FTC or the FDA, anything along those lines. It's just a person who's being very partisan and also foolish and reckless, stating something that there's no findings behind it. And I know that you probably hear that kind of stuff, and it just, it peels back a layer of skin.
Yeah, I mean, these people aren't serious people, and they have no problem to look a camera or look someone in the face and lie. This is about health care. Yep. Abortion is health care. We cannot spread misinformation about the most important thing which we have, which is our bodies and our health.
Nope, never.
It is so reckless. And It boggles my mind every day. And when I listen to these people, it's just, please stop. They need to stop lying to us.
Well, they need to stop lying to us, and we need to be, I believe, that we can't necessarily rely on mainstream media to correct and tell the truth. But I think that one of the other power sources for us, Sarah, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this, is with all the access to so many social media outlets and so many tools that are out there, we know that there's going to be these folks like Representative Mary Miller who flat out lied or either got some bad coffee that morning, but whatever it wasn't on point. We have to be willing to call it out real time. I've been saying that for a long time, Sarah. When somebody says something like that, that's garbage, we don't have the luxury any longer to give them a couple of days to find their righteousness. We got to call them out in the moment. And correct it in the moment, because otherwise then the lie becomes magnified and it becomes bigger. And the next thing you know, someone's saying, oh, yeah, well, you know, that drug, mifepristone, it's in your water that you drink. You better be careful. So we have to call it out real time. I mean, what are your thoughts there?
Oh, I totally agree. And that's what we do at Personal PAC. We hold people accountable, and we call the balls and strikes, right? That's our job, and I take my job very seriously. And you're right. We have to be disruptors. Respectability politics.
That's over with.
You can do it respectfully, but you have to be like, hey, what does that mean? And the way I do it is like my ethos as a human is like I just try and stay open and curious, right? Like, well, what do you mean by that? Or like,
could you explain that? Right. Could you explain that one a little bit better? Help me speak to me like I'm a 5-year-old. I don't quite get that. Could you say that one more time?
Yeah. And even when I'm on social media, you know, I'll be watching reels when I can't sleep at night on Instagram like everyone else. And sometimes I'm like, Sarah, why are you listening to this person? Where did this person come from? Are they an expert? Did they go to school in this? And I question myself. And I think we all have to do that, right?
Yep. Absolutely. I think that's being responsible as a citizen, as an adult. Sarah, gosh, there's so much to talk about. And guys, we've been talking with Sarah Garza-Resnick, who is the CEO of Personal PAC. Great organization. We're going to have you back again. But I want to give you a couple of moments just as we wrap up to talk about some upcoming events. If I understand things correctly, you guys have a big luncheon that's taking place in October. Is that correct?
Yep, October 24th. It's our annual giant luncheon. People should come. When I intentionally gather people, I want people to leave inspired and hopeful and have a vision for the future while living in reality of what is going on in this country. And, you know, to learn together.
Yeah, and you've been successful at that. I definitely want to make sure that I can attend the event, and I know that we'll talk between now and then because I'd like to show up and provide my support. How can folks find you? What do you want people to be doing to get involved and be a participant in the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so personalpac.org. We're on all the socials, so follow us there. Sign up for our newsletter, our email list. We do not spam people, but if you are deeply concerned like I am about what is going on in this country, we will tell you when we need to light our hair on fire. And I think the day is ever approaching that 47th administration is going to start to mess with us. So just follow us. We are been doing this a very long time. We are very good at what we do. And when they do come for us, you have to hit the streets with us. Yeah. And then the other thing I always tell people is what the anti-choice movement has been so good at is shaming us about our own bodies.
God,
and the most powerful thing we could do, vote, donate, hit the streets, tell your elected officials how you feel, but also open our mouths and our hearts to each other. Human history has always evolved because we are brave people to share our stories. So whatever your story is, the access to birth control being challenging, if you birth children, how hard it is to do that, and how our healthcare system fights us every step of the way. If you have an abortion story, if you know, like me, in perimenopause, and you've been gaslit by doctors, other people aren't bad people. It's that we have to be brave enough to open and be vulnerable and to share our truth with them, because that's how we learn from each other.
Yeah. Sarah, go ahead. I'm sorry, you had something else to say. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I mean, this is real. I just want your listeners to know that 35,000 people had to travel to Illinois last year. They became medical refugees, and we were their safe haven. And 54,000 Illinoisans received abortion care in our state last year. These are real people.
And
I was one of those people, and we must protect this.
Well, and I take a deep breath and I say this, like you said, what are we doing effectively, and what's the upside of all this? Well, candidly, Sarah, it's the upside is folks like you and organizations like Personal PAC who have leaned in and said, we have a lot to do. We have a lot of opportunity. So let's get to the work of doing it. And I appreciate you taking some time out this morning to be with us. And you've got me as an ally. I was an ally before, but here you go. Here we go again. But Sarah, thanks for being with us this morning. I look forward to having you back on the show, talking about this ongoing important subject. And obviously, before we get to your annual luncheon, we'll have you on again and we'll chat about that. Does that sound good?
That sounds great, Richard. This was wonderful. I hope everyone has a brilliant day, and just be kind to each other.
Absolutely. And be kind to yourself right out of the gate. So, Sarah, thanks for being with us this morning. Have a great day yourself, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Passion, y'all. That is, there's everything right with being passionate. There's a person that follows the show, and I don't know if it's a man or a woman, where they are, but they've said to me on a number of occasions, Richard, they almost scolded me, Henry, in a positive way. They said, Richard, I've said this to you before. You don't have to apologize for your passion on this. So the person that sends me that text, I greatly appreciate you reminding me of that. And I was supposed to pass that on to Kurt yesterday because he sometimes says, I'm so passionate and emotional about this. That's okay. And Sarah is clearly passionate and emotional in all the right ways about this subject of reproductive health and reproductive rights for women, because it is a family issue at its core. So thanks to Sarah for being with us. Get with Personal PAC. They've got a lot of great things going on if you're looking for another opportunity to be involved. And like she said, this is something that throughout the country is important for all of us to be leaning into. We're going to take a quick break. The number, of course, is 773-763-9278. When we come back, we hopefully will be talking with our own Congressman Danny Davis. We'll be right back.
Excuse me, miss. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you recommend a bank that offers a full suite of commercial banking products along with excellent service?
Yes, ABOC.
What about a bank that has been in Chicago for more than 100 years and really understands the local business climate?
ABOC.
But I manage a labor union. Can you recommend a bank that really understands how labor unions operate and what banking products they need?
Again, ABOC. ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922 and understands the local business climate better than anyone. ABOC was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders today, so they really understand how unions tick and how their needs may be different. But whether you're with a labor union or another type of business, whether you're large or small or something in between, ABOC will always make you feel like you're their most important customer. Visit ABOC.com to learn more.
Wow, thank you, random person on the street. I'm going to visit ABOC.com today.
Member FDIC.
Well, June is Pride Month, and all of us who believe in freedom and equality are speaking out for LGBTQ plus rights. But did you know there's a way to raise your voice for equality every month? In fact, every day. It's your phone if you use Credo Mobile. Credo Mobile has donated over $15 million to nonprofits working for equal rights, groups like National LGBTQ Task Force, Transgender Law Center, and the ACLU. And they'll continue to do so because they don't abandon their values when the political wind shifts. They stand for LGBTQ plus people people during Pride Month and every month. If you're ready to switch, it's so easy to do. Here's how you make a difference. Go to credomobile.com. WCPT listeners can get 25% off your service for 2 years if you use the code WCPT25. Learn more at credomobile.com. That's credomobile.com. The best way to give back is to go to credomobile.com. That's credomobile.com. Don't forget, type in your code WCPT25.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, we'll see a blend of clouds and sunshine. Do pick up a chance for some scattered showers and storms, mainly into the afternoon, on the muggy side with highs in the lower 90s. Then for tonight, chance for scattered showers and storms, a low of 73. More scattered showers and storms on Friday, a high of 86, and just a slight chance for a shower or thundershower Saturday, mid-80s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 79.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressive, welcome back to Choose Views. Of course, 773-763-9278 is our Credo mobile phone and text line. And to say I'm a little nervous wouldn't be a lie, but to say I'm more excited would probably be the real truth. Some folks are just legendary, and they're leaders that have stayed and done the work, and they've endured the test of time, and that would be, I think, a good description of one of our wonderful congressional leaders from the 7th Congressional District of Illinois, and that's Representative Danny Davis. Welcome to the show, Mr. Davis. We appreciate you being with us this morning.
Well, thank you, Richard. I enjoy your show. As a matter of fact, I kind of mix it between some other things that I do early in the morning. But I enjoy it. I enjoy WCPT.
Thank you so much. We enjoy you, and I'll do my best to keep it together this morning because I so appreciate the leadership that you've provided, not just to the district, the 7th District, Congressional District, but also to the state and to the country. You've been there for a minute, and you've been one of the folks that people have recognized that you know how to get it done, and you know how to legislate. Tell us a little bit about, people know your background, but tell us a little bit about right now one of your biggest concerns, but also opportunities for the 7th Congressional District and some of the things that you are sort of saying, yeah, we got to get this done. These are things that are important to my constituents.
Well, I always say that the 7th District is the most fascinating piece of geography in the United States of America, compressed into what is called a political subdivision. We have very wealthy people who live in our district on the Gold Coast. We have everything near the Loop, downtown Chicago, in every direction. We have 23 hospitals and 4 medical schools and 12 of what we call federally qualified health centers. We have more than 20 institutions of higher learning, that is, colleges and universities, not only in the city, but also Concordia and Dominican out in the western suburb. We have very wealthy. We have Chinatown. We have Greek Town. We have Ukrainian Village. We have a big African-American community. So it's a great place to live and work. We have every problem that they exist in urban America. But we got all these opportunities as well. We have every opportunity for individuals to grow and develop and become whatever their personhood combines to make them. And that's the big promise of America. And I think this is where these job training centers come into play. I've been associated with them ever since they started, ever since they began. I am a former teacher myself My wife was a teacher until she retired. My sister was a teacher and principal. And so education and training and I had another sister who worked in Atlanta, Georgia. That's where she lived. And she trained women to drive bulldozers and in a program, that traditionally females were not involved. And I always say that Chris was the most talented person in our family. She died early. But nevertheless, these training centers play a critical role, especially for individuals who sometimes get a little lost and they're not sure of what they want to do as they're 17 and 18 and 20 and 21 and whatever. Some of them are homeless. They don't have a place to live. They're just uncertain, and they can go to the Job Corps. Plus, we're so excited right now because when we try and tell people what will work against some of the actions that the current administration is taking, and people say, what can we do? How can we stop them? How can we change it? Well, in this instance right now, what is working? One, we can rely upon the courts to hold up what has been determined and established as law. And so we can go to court. We can hope the courts are going to rule on the basis of law. At the same time, we can raise public awareness. We can keep telling people that the president and his advisors are not making the best decisions when they decide to do these things. And so we can block them using those two approaches. I mean, those right now, that's what's keeping the job centers open temporarily. Of course, we want an ultimate decision that will keep them functioning because they work so well. I mean, they train people. You know, one of the biggest problems that many unemployed people have is they don't know anything to do.
Yeah.
And I always say, if you know something to do, if you can paint, you got a job.
Yeah.
If you can fix the water pipe, you got a job. If you can do something, and these programs train individuals in these good paying areas that even if they come through and they're not an apprentice yet, they've taken pre-apprenticeship training. They now can come and put the lock on your door. I got so many needs right now. My air conditioning unit is not working.
Well, you know, Congressman, one of the things that I've been so, I guess proud is probably a good word, but just impressed by the fact that, you know, you've really leaned into the importance of community project funding and made it clear. I mean, I think for fiscal year 26, you have pushed forward and introduced so many different things that are going to be important to not just the city of Chicago, but to the large area that is your district. I mean, whether it be something with the Park District or with the Urban League, obviously with the schools, with the County Sheriff's Department, and these community organizations that, as they're stronger and kept stable, then people do have a place to go to learn and to get training and to be able to be impactful in the society. And then on a greater scale, federally, you've been a big advocate of the more we put into our people, the more we work to train and to keep folks viable, the better society we're going to have. And I would say that in the 80s, the GOP lost sight of that. They threw it out. They kicked it out, basically. And training of everyday workers became unimportant. And you've been standing in the void for that on that principle for years and years as part of the Appropriations Committee, saying that on a federal level, yes, we want to do things in our community, but on a federal level, the more we can make sure that folks have things to do, training, opportunities, ways of learning, the better our country is going to be.
Well, many of these programs and activities are not just something that I know about. I live among the people. I know individuals who've been to Job Corps. I know them. I see them. I know individuals who need the skills that they can develop going through the program that the Urban League has. And so these are not things that are far to me. I've always lived in the heart of the west side of Chicago, always will until I die. I mean, that's where I am. That's who I am. That's what I do. And so it's not something that I just pick up the newspaper and see where somebody said this or somebody said that. I see the guy walking down the street. He passed by my house and said, "Good morning, Mr. Davis. I stopped to get gasoline, to fill up my car, fill up the tank." And some guy will walk up and say, "Hey, Brother Davis, how you doing? Can I pump your gas for you?" And I said, "Well, I got it covered. I'm cool, but how you doing? What's going on?" I'm saying these things actually work, no matter what it is that people might say. Yes, I do, in fact, interact with the institutions of higher learning. I just got an award day before yesterday from the National Correctional Association for the work that we do in helping with reentry. I just took a bunch of kids last Saturday to the Sheridan Correctional Facility, to the penitentiary, to see their fathers who are incarcerated. And what a wonderful time they had, the fathers and their families. And some of these gentlemen had not seen their children since they had been conceived, which means they'd never seen them because they had gotten convicted right around the time that the mother got pregnant. And so all of these things, so we have to fight with the individuals as we fight for them.
Yeah.
And so doing so gives us an opportunity, hopefully, to keep the Job Corps. And we got local little newspapers. I want to say to Brad Cummins, who is the editor and publisher of the Austin Voice, because they've been with us, the ministers who've come out and tried to get into the building to see what was taking place. And, of course, we were not let in. They were not let in. But the program has temporary, funding, and is temporarily open. And so right now, we got our fingers crossed, but we're still marching. we're still demonstrating.
Well, speaking of that, I wanted to ask you this question, and I can't get away from from asking this question. So, weekend before last, we had this large number of people who decided that it was their time to get out and to protest and to rally all over the country, and certainly here in Chicago. I know you saw this and got reports on the number of people that were here, but also all over the country, out fighting, out speaking their mind. How did that impact you? What are your thoughts about the weekend before last protest, No Kings protest?
And I was doing the same thing. As a matter of fact, I did at least a half a dozen speeches that day to different groups, my Alpha Brothers and fraternities and sororities and the Divine Nine, and everybody was out. It reinvigorated me because it meant that people understand that our democracy is important, that it's not just some small group of individuals who can make all of the decisions. about how we live, what we think, how we work, what we do, where our money comes from, how our government works, that America, this country, our country, 'tis of thee, has grown with the idea that democracy, that is, that people should be engaged, people should be involved, people should help make the decisions, and that the greatest title that you can have in this country is citizen. Citizen, no matter who gets elected for what, but citizen is the main representation that should exist in America. And I think those millions of people who were out expressing that just gave me a sense of hope and the realization that, yes, there is a strong desire in America to keep going forward and not go backwards, not let king-like individuals or queen-like individuals rule our country, or let the rulers be a small group of billionaires. I don't have no problem with people being billionaires. That's what they are. But I don't think billionaires really have the pulse of what the people need, and that these are not the individuals who should be determining the policies for our country, not the United States of America.
Well, Congressman, you know, the conversation, the question that I'm sure you get from so many different angles and so many different peoples, and I know you watch and pay attention to all their news reports about our Democratic Party and its ability to fight back right now. And when I say Democratic Party, I mean specifically elected officials. And I know people want to hear this from you as we wrap up. What are you doing? Not you specifically, but what is it that our congressional leaders that are Democrats on the House and in the Senate, what are you doing? People want to know that you're fighting, that as we used to say, you remember this, you're a few years older than I am, but the phrase that we got our dukes up. What are we doing to fight back against this craziness? The rallies were great, but I think our listeners all over the country want to know that folks like you, Representative Congressman Davis, are doing the work and that are fighting. And let our folks know that.
Well, I'm many years older than you. But we are fighting every day. And not only are we fighting, it's beginning to work, and it is working. We look at the returns of the election in New York, in their mayoral election a day ago, 2 days ago, and what has happened. We look at what is happening in Virginia now, the candidate who's running for governor, and the female woman who has just won the primary and is going to probably, in all likelihood, become the next governor of Virginia. And so people understand that struggle, strife, and pain are the prerequisites for change, and that if you're not struggling, then you're not fighting. So Democrats are trying to help educate the American public to know that the kitchen table issues, that the tariffs are important, that it's important to have truth about what is going on. For example, you know, the other day we heard, we just knocked out Iran, and we've knocked out, we're not so certain about all of that. We need honest government that is transparent, will tell us the truth. And the only way to make sure that happens is to be registered to vote every opportunity that exists. Make sure that you're registered to vote. Keep up with the information. Keep up with the news. and know that you have as much responsibility for what goes on in this country as elected people. It's not the electeds are to represent the people. And if I'm not representing the thinking of my people, then I'm not representing them. And so just make sure that you put into place, into office, people that you know are going to represent the public interest and not some private concerns of theirs, so not just their willy-nilly what they want and what they want to do.
Yeah. You've been in this role for a long time. You've been there since 1997. And I wanted to ask you this final question. Are you thinking about how much longer you're going to stay? Are we running again? And then, where do you sit in that space? How are you feeling about that as you look at the future?
Well, I'm still talking to people. I'm still listening to people. I love to have people be engaged in the decisions that I make. And so I expect that within the next month or so, I will have determined what I'm going to do. And, of course, we'll let people know that in a real way so that they're very clear about why we do whichever decision that I make.
That's fantastic. Man, oh man, oh man. Well, my nervousness is gone now, and I'm just excited that we were able to have you on the show this morning, Congressman Davis. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and listening to what people are saying, and then taking that back to implement the things that the constituents want to have done. Thank you for your just legendary work that you've done here in the 7th District for the state of Illinois and for the country. And I appreciate you being with us this morning. How can folks find you? I know it's probably pretty easy just to Google your name, but let's just have one last moment of Congressman Davis telling folks how to find him.
Well, let me thank you for the work that you do and for the information that you provide. And I certainly want to thank WCPT for being a voice and a listening post for people who want to express themselves. Of course, we're located at California and Madison Street in Chicago, right in the heart of the hood. Our phone number there is 773-533-7520. And, of course, we're in D.C. doing our work here, and our number is 202-225-5006. You can also catch us on weekend. I was in my office Sunday, and people call and say, "Could you tell the congressman?" And I said, "Well, I'd be delighted." "Congressman, that sounds like you. Is it?" And I say, "It is." So thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Congressman Davis. Have a great rest of the week and keep up the fight. We got your back. We appreciate you.
We'll be there.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now. All right. So there you go. Congressman Danny Davis, a legend in this space. And he understands, I think, the most important thing, and that is to listen, in his role, I should say, is to listen to what folks want and to keep in the fight, and making sure that he's taking the things that people are telling him that they want and working to get them done. And I would say that if you look at his record, he has gotten a tremendous amount done for the district, for the region, for the country, and someone that has been one of our champions. And so I'm very pleased and grateful to have had some time to talk with him this morning. Wow. As usual, the day just goes by. 2 hours is we snap our fingers and boom, there you go. But I want to thank Congressman Danny Davis for being with us this morning. And I also want to thank Sarah Garza-Resnick for being with us as well, and you guys for being part of our show. It's interesting, circling back to something that Congressman Davis said that I don't want to forget. and that is the importance. When I asked the question about what they're doing to fight and keep fighting, and he said that they are, and we know that has to happen. But he also made it clear, guys, and I think this is, it partners with what I've been saying. It certainly partners with what Sarah said and many others, is that we have to stay engaged. We have to stay in the fight. And as much as they're representatives of the various districts and offices and the places that we elect them from, and send them off to the state capitals and to send them off to the nation's capital to do the work, and they have to do it, and we have to hold them responsible. It's still on us to be participants in this process. And as much as people are upset about where we are and frustrated, and rightfully so, and take this as a motivator more than anything else, we've got to inspire more people to get in the process. When we have 36% of the population, the voting population, that did not vote in this last presidential election, that's probably one of the first things we need to go about fixing. Now, granted, we've got to have that. To fix that, we've got to have people that are running for offices, that are inspiring, that are leaders, that are going to take us in a direction that's good for all of America. At the same time, I do want to inspire everybody to say, I got to get back in the game. And so that's kind of what I cautiously, but I have to say it, is that we have to be more engaged in the game. All of us do. And those who decided not to be a participant in this last election, I'm not going to be angry with you forever, but I am going to do my part to remind you that you can't sit on the sidelines and expect to win the game if you're not even in the game, if you didn't even come to the stadium. So, guys, it's been great being with you this morning. As always, we appreciate you. We're going to send you on your way for the day. Take a deep breath and make your life count. We will see you tomorrow.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. Captain Hugh Molzak's love for the sea started after he finished high school, as he served the British Sooners and in 1918 immigrated to the United States. Within 2 years of joining the Marines, Molzak earned his shipping master certificate, the first African American to do so. In 1921, Molzak was promoted to the rank of captain. In 1942, the SS Booker T. Washington, the first ship to be named after an African American, was created, and Molzak was offered the position of captain, but he turned it down at first, as the Marines did not want to have an integrated crew. Molzak stood firm on his beliefs, stating, "Under no circumstances will I command a Jim Crow," and Molzak became the first African American captain of the first ever integrated